has been for.
I go around universities and have challenging conversations, and because that's what is so important to our country, is to find our disagreements respectfully, because when people stop talking, that's when violence happens. That's when civil war happens, because you start to think the other side is so evil and they lose their humanity.
Wow, what fabulous, fabulous stuff. Joining us now, Miranda Devine, New York Post columnist, Fox News contributor, host of Pod Force One, and Josh Hammer, host of The Josh Hammer Show, senior counsel at the Article 3 Project. Thanks to both of you on a very difficult day. I understand all that. Miranda, the terrible, terrible, horrible irony here is that there's nobody who wanted civility and reasonableness and respect in arguments or disagreements than Charlie Kirk, who was most regrettably, obviously, murdered by somebody with a political agenda who disagreed. I mean, it's just a terrible, awful irony. I know you're writing about it this morning.
Look, Larry, yes, it is an irony, and it's also the reason that they had to vilify him the way they did, the media, calling him a white supremacist and hateful. I mean, even yesterday they were calling him a divisive figure. Someone who spouted hateful rhetoric. You listen to him, that is exactly the opposite of what he did. He waded into those campuses that were full of irrationality and propaganda. And, it was courageous of him. There were people throwing themselves at him, trying to disagree with him. And he just calmly, rationally had dialogue with them. And he won over a lot of souls, And I think that's probably what made him enemy number one, because it's a factory of hate, these universities these days. That's what they've become. And Charlie was challenging that, and he was showing young people the truth. And it was resonating with a new generation. And that's what made him such a potent political force. It's why he helped Donald Trump win the 2024 election, especially with young men. And I think that's why he's such a threat. And that's why he had the target put on him. We can't escape this, by the leftist media, by the Democrat media. They made him public enemy number one. And when you irrationally demonize somebody, there are going to be crazy people out there who believe what you say and go after him. And I fear that's what happened yesterday.
Well, it's a terrible story, Josh Hammer. I believe you knew Charlie Kirk rather well. But look, as a person of faith myself, I believe somehow some good will come of everything. The movement will continue. The fight to be reasonable and civil while still engaging, one another in differences of opinion, be it politics or whatever. That movement, that fight is not going to die. And I think the attractiveness to young people is something that the dialogue will produce. The dialogue will produce that attractiveness to young people. We talked at the beginning of the show, Josh, Charlie was warning President Trump and others, wait a second, the affordability problem is not gone. You better pay attention to that. I mean, that's the kind of brilliance that he had. And hopefully, we don't fall back into the Mondami, crazy, communist, socialist kind of thing. The movement will go on, will it not, Josh?
Yeah, Larry, Charlie was a personal friend. We became a lot closer just over the past year and a half or so. I've known him for some years. We were really just becoming pretty close. We were talking on a basically daily basis. Actually, just before that tragedy out in Utah, the night before, we were on a Zoom call, and he was joking how when the Israel question came up on campus, how he would just point them to my book, Israel and Civilization. He was like, Josh, I'm going to help you with your book sales. I mean, he was just a total mensch. He had a great sense of humor. He was one of a kind. He was absolutely one of a kind, and it is very, very, very difficult. It's a daunting task to try to fill that void. I struggle to think of a single individual who can do so. On the other hand, Larry, your point is very well taken. I don't think the left realizes what they have done. I'm not talking about retribution. I'm not talking about eye for an eye. I'm not talking about trying to engage in political assassinations. God forbid. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I don't think they realize what they've done in awakening millennials and Gen Z conservatives, the kind of folks who looked up to Charlie Kirk as the leader of their entire generation, as the one who gave them a voice. They are going to double down and triple down like never before. They have no idea what's coming down the road.
Good for you. You know what? They made one big bloody mistake yesterday. That's what they did. They made one big mistake, whoever they are. I'm sorry, kids, I got to jump out, but that's a terrific point. Miranda Devine, thank you. Thank you for the podcast, by the way, Miranda. And Josh Hammer,
Thank you, Larry.